I fully believe that when this land bridge is finished and when it is all said and done and we're just deciding what to put on it,
right,
at that point, I think we need to have spaces for that art to come back and be like breathed through the community. We need to have like art spaces. We need to have performance spaces. We need to have whatever we can to cater to those people who want to make this music, who want to make this art. We need to keep them in mind.
Right. We need to teach that history and continue it. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, musical artists, despite their fame, their fortune, they were still treated with prejudice and racism. And I think a good example of that is Bessie Smith, who I believe got into a car accident and was just straight denied medical attention because she was black. And obviously this is like, it sounds like such a terrible story. Why would this ever happen to anybody? But the reality is that it's probably not the only story there is.
Right.
Well, not probably, it just isn't the only story there is.
Right.
And I think people fail to see that not only was the African American community like shut out and refused service and diners and hotels, but they were also just denied like basic human needs.
Right.
Water, life-saving attention. You know, like all of the things they never got. All the lives lost simply because the color of their skin. Because they couldn't put the fact that someone looked different than them aside.
Right.
Just to help them.
Right. And this goes to show that because of the society and because of the world we live in, black people are seen as black before we're seen as anything else. You know, we're black before we're famous. We're black before we're rich. We're black before we're college graduates. You know, before we are any of these things, we're seen as black and we're going to be treated as such. And that goes to show you that.
Sam Cooke, for example, was arrested simply because of the color of his skin.
Yeah, and Tina Turner was like, she was called the N-word by a Capitol executive and did not want to put her work out.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Happened in the music industry, executive there.
It happened everywhere. People just like to act like it was only one isolated incident or in one certain part of the country, like it only happened in the South or something.
Right.
But even in the North, even in places where it was considered to be a safe haven for African Americans, it never really was.
No.
Never.
Unless obviously you had the people who were able to put the fact that just because you look different don't mean we are different past them. It's just, I don't know, it's really gross to think that there are people you descend from, well, people that we're close with, that, you know, descend from such like hatred and bigotry. And it's like it was nothing but growing up. It was nothing but just the way things were.
Just living your life.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And like all this oppression, hatred, pain, like eventually culminated in the civil rights movement, where people stood up and demanded, equal rights and desegregation. And a question is that or a thing we always thought is that, oh, it only happened in the South. It didn't happen in the North, but no, it happened everywhere.
Yeah.
And another thing is that people think it's over. It is not over. No way in hell is it over.
No. People think the civil rights movement ended. People think that it's no longer a thing. But no, it's still going on, present day. And Minnesota is no exception to that.
Especially Minnesota.
Right. I mean, like, you have the police murders of George Floyd and Philando Castile and Daunte Wright. And then you have Minnesota approving Line Enbridge to build Line 3 through Native American land in northern Minnesota, breaking treaties. You have redlining the creation of hoods and ghettos, North Minneapolis, South Minneapolis. Like, and these are just a few examples of how systemic racism has played out in Minnesota. You know, it bothers me so much when people put Minnesota on this pedestal of like, yes, Minnesota's this amazing, democratic, progressive, safe haven that is so much better than all the other states. But no, it's not. It's
Exactly.
really not. It has blood on its hands. It does.
Yeah.
It's not even just the blood of African Americans either.
No, definitely not. I also forgot to mention the Dakota 38 in Mankato, where that was the largest mass execution in this country, where 38 Dakota men were hung. Like, it's...
Yeah, and Fort Snelling, you know, the thing that started St. Paul, that was a concentration camp.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure the Nazis got inspiration from that. It's like, oh, they saw what was happening here, and they're like, you know what, we're going to use it against the Jews.
What a good idea. That's exactly what they thought to themselves.
Yeah. Hey, the Americans did it. They did it well. Yeah, that's crazy.
I think, like you mentioned earlier, Reconnect Rondo is a proof. Yeah, it's living proof. We are living proof that the civil rights movement is not dead.
It's going on still.
Right.
Present
And that
day.
we are still holding strong. And that even though people may live together, and even though people may be able to use this water fountain after the white man, it doesn't mean that we're not being oppressed.
No.
And it doesn't mean that civil rights aren't still a huge problem in this country.
Just because you have a black friend does not mean you don't benefit from white supremacy.
So funny when they say, hey, I have black friends. I have black friends.
My friend's daughter's dog's owner is black. I can't be racist. Oh, damn.
Yeah, but it's really moved like, you know, away from segregation and more towards like living free of discrimination in general. And I think Reconnect Rondo was like an example of that, of like a restorative justice of fixing problems of the past and actually making something out of that to make it better than it was. So there's hope, guys. There is hope.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Rondo wasn't even the only community that was impacted by just
Yes, this was a national
Definitely
act.
not,
Happened
no.
everywhere in all the cities. And guess what? Happened to African American communities in those cities.
almost always.
Yes.
Always,
If not
yep.
Definitely.
specifically.
Yeah,
Specifically,
specifically.
yes. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll be covering that in the next podcast. But
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, in future podcasts, we'll actually be talking more about other communities that have been affected by, you know, similar situations, you know, having highways run through them, or anything of that, you know,
Right.
likeness.
No, it's definitely not just Rondo. You have to step back and look at the bigger picture. You have to look at this as systemic and not just some like crazy things that just happened.
Like a fluke thing.
Yeah, just like, whoa, how did this happen? Like, no, this is what's supposed to be happening. This is their plan, just laying out perfectly.
Yep.
Almost anywhere you see where there's a highway, where there's a freeway, where there's an interstate, whatever the difference may
There
be,
used to be homes there.
there used to be
Right.
homes there.
Yep.
So this is all something we'll discuss in the next podcast. We'll be discussing the Bloomberg article. We've done some research on that, that covers many cities in the U.S. that have been disconnected, decimated by the interstate highway system.
Right.
Stay tuned for the next podcast.
Yes. Thank you all for watching.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so to learn more, you can go to reconnectrondo.com or follow us on social media at Reconnect Rondo.
Thank you for watching our podcast. If you like what you see, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get notified when we put out new podcast episodes.